Hi, this is Monty Tilsner with the Great Plains Athletic Conference. This will be the first of a series of preseason videos that we're going to do for GPAC officials. This one's going to focus on kick plays. So we're going to start out with a free kick. And we know with our basic free kick mechanics, we've got a referee in the middle of the end zone, in the middle of the field. One thing to remember is when that ball is first touched in the field of play or caught and returned out of the end zone, referee, you should not be winding the clock. The wings will wind the clock. You should be looking out in front at blocks, and the wings will wind the clock to start the play. And then referee, you're focusing on the middle of the field out in front for blocks, most commonly holds and illegal block in the back. The off wing official will be really opening up their vision for blindside blocks, and everyone else will focus kind of on their zone area for illegal blocks in the back, holds, and anyone who we see who's going faster than everybody else or going a lot more sideways or backward for potential blindside block. So here we're going to have number 1 who's going to signal, but number 10 is going to come over and catch this ball. And we need to know our fair catch rules. If we have one player who signals and another player catches the ball, that is not going to be an awarded fair catch, where if they would catch it inside the 25, they don't get an awarded for a catch, and we move the ball to the 25 and they get to choose their lateral ball position. If we have a fair catch signal by one player, but a different player signals, then they're buying the ball at the spot of the catch by that second player. So in this play here, that's what we're going to see. And what we need to think about as a crew is whoever sees this fair catch signal on the field, just on the 020, say number 1 signal, number 1 signal. And that way we know that number 1 catches this ball inside the 25. That will be an awarded fair catch. They do get to choose their ball position. But, and in most cases, this is going to be our referee. In the next, you're going to see, I'll just play it now, and you can see the flick up of the arm by the receiver right there. That's our fair catch signal. Again, we're going to make that a valid one, even though it's just one time. So if number 1, remember a valid fair catch signal, what that does is that gives number 1, but number 1 only, the extra protection of if he would muff this ball up in the air, then he gets protection to complete the catch if it's in an area where he could complete the catch. If we have an invalid signal, like the getaway signal or something that's not a valid signal, then they do get the protection to catch the ball, but if they muff it in the air, they don't get that extra protection. So that's what that valid signal gives them versus an invalid signal. You can see here we got a valid signal by number 1, but number 10 comes over and fields this ball. So it is going to be dead where he fields it. This is just the other view. You can see he's going to come over, and it's going to be dead where he fields it. He fields this ball at the 27-yard line, so they're going to get it to the 27-yard line. It'd be a position 1. If this same action would occur, number 1 would be way back at the 5, and he would signal, but number 10 would come over and fair catch this ball at, say, the 7-yard line. Then they're going to get that ball at the 7-yard line. So this just shows kind of what you should be zoning up for to look for that fair catch signal. So the umpire, you're going to be watching, your, kind of your half of the field there in these first row or 2 of players. Back judge, as you come in, you're going to be picking up the guys on your half in the first, first row or 2 of players. And the deep wings, as you come down, you're going to be looking a little deeper into that, that kind of that third row of players. And so, our field judge or side judge would be here. Our other deep wing, you're going to be looking in and probably focusing on this player. And then our referee and our wing on this side and are going to also be in on this action of these players. The referee often is going to be the one who's going to see this, fair catch signal and get on the 0-2-0 right away. So just our kick coverage and especially how we handle and think about fair catch signals. The rest of the training is going to be on punt plays, and we have our normal punt mechanics for our deep three here. So we'll kind of fast forward through this one, showing that we have a couple of things here. First of all, we'll show the end zone view of this in just a second, but let's just look at this view and where we want our back judge and our deep wings to be position wise. When we field this ball, we need to be at a good angle to see, first of all, if someone would get within the 1 yard belt of the shoulders of this return man. And if so, then we would have fair catch interference. Actually, not in this one because we have a bouncing ball, but if we have a ball in the air. But the point is, we need to have an angle. And on this one, we're dead straight lined. So we have no angle to see if he musts this. We don't have a good angle to see if the ball will be in the air, if someone would be in that fair catch or that catch interference area. Our deep wings, we want to be 7 to 10 yards, preferably 10 yards behind where this guy picks it up. So we want to be back here a little more. And again, we're looking at blocks out in front. Remember, back judges, until this ball is possessed, you should never see a block. You need to be watching for a signal, valid or invalid, by your return man. Even if that ball's bouncing on the ground, if he gives a signal, we know it's invalid, but it is going to make the ball dead. So positioning is something that we would need to improve on this particular play. And then remember, back judges, you do not have any responsibility for this dead ball spot. Our deep wings are going to come up and they're going to get this spot. Don't come in so close. I'm going to go slowly through the rest of this. You can see we end up really way too close. When we're this close, we don't have the width to be able to see any cheap shots. We need to have some depth. We preferably be 10 yards back where we have a good wide angle and can see any dead ball action that might be a problem. So remember, you do not have this spot. Don't worry about coming up. Even if it's a fair catch, just stay back and observe dead ball action. Your wings are going to come up, and they are the ones who really do have that spot. On a fair catch, if you want to come up and drop your bag, that's fine. On this play, you can toss your bag up, but there's no need to be this close. So this, again, just shows the end zone view of the same punt. And our back judge, we want to be 7 yards behind and just off the inside shoulder of the return man. So you should be standing right where the tip of this arrow is, 7 yards deep. Our field judge and side judge, you should be even with the back judge to start. So if he starts at 7, 8 yards, you should be even with him. It's very important, back judge or side judge and field judge, you pick up the depth and direction of the ball initially right off the foot, and then you adjust to be 7 to 10 yards behind that return man on the catch. You're watching the gunners or the first guy, or maybe 2, maybe 3 guys on your side of the field looking for holding, block in the back. Remember our block in the back guidelines. If they're in chase mode, any contact anywhere in the back besides a touch and release would be considered a foul for a block in the back. If they're not in chase mode, to be an illegal block in the back, we need the forcible contact to be between the numbers in the middle of the back. If we would have contact on the side of the player and in the middle of the back, shoulder and the back, and we get a push with both hands with that, that is not considered a foul because they are not in chase mode. So chase mode, any contact is going to be a foul. in the back, even on like the shoulder blades. But if not chase mode, we need that contact to be in the middle of the numbers. So we look at the end of this play here. In this one, we want you, the back judges, to move opposite the return man, and you should end up ideally 7 yards wide and 5 to 7 yards deep. The width of you is more important than the depth. I wouldn't mind so much if you get stuck too close and you're 3 yards, deep or behind him, but you need to be 5 or 7 yards wide. Otherwise, you don't have that angle to see if he muffs that ball or something like that. Most important thing for the back judge is when we have that first touching or catch by that return man, that you are wide enough that you have an angle to see. Okay, on this one, we're going to take a look at, that was the different view, so sorry. This one here, this is exactly what we want for the positioning of the back judge. You can see we are snapping the ball on the hash, and our return man is on the hash, and our back judge has moved over off the middle of the field. Here's the middle of the field. He's moved over, and he's, like I said, is just off the inside shoulder of this return man and about 7 yards deep. So that's where we want you to be positioned. Even if he's on the hash, he's not going to go outside the hash anyway. But then as you watch that punt, you're going to move opposite direction of him. And I think we get a little bit of this action on this punt. It's not a very good punt, but you can see our back judge moving forward. So that's the beauty of this position. When he sees this ball in the air, if he just moves over laterally this way, all you need to do now, and especially if he moves up a little bit, all you need to do now is move up a little to have that perfect positioning. Okay, and we kind of don't have the rest of the view here, but that's the positioning and the movement we want by our back judge. Again, starting position, when they're starting the ball on the hash there, is you would want to be just off his inside shoulder and about 7 yards behind him. Now this, we're going to take a look at the mechanics of what we do by our referee and our deep wing on a punt that goes out of bounds in the air. First of all, if that ball ends up touching in the white, then you as a deep wing should be able to spot that ball and not have to have your referee line it up. But if you have the ball bounce all the way out of the white, then we're going to have our referee line up our back judge. So we're going to go through and watch this punt here, and this punt's going to go out of bounds in the air, and it's going to land in the black, so outside the white. And when that happens, we know as a deep wing that we are going to come up the sideline we're going to kill the clock, and then we're going to jog up the sideline with our hand in the air, and we're going to wait for that referee to chop us in. But the one thing that we do need to do differently is referees, it's very important that you move to the exact spot where that punt was made. If we don't, when we line up our side judge or field judge coming up the field, we are going to be off. It could be up to 5 yards. So I just drew a couple lines here to show our referee just standing where he was on the play. And this shows where that ball goes out of bounds. So where it would cross the sideline, because that's what you're looking at, would be right here. And if you move to where that punter is, it's down here. And this is about a 5-yard difference on this play. So it's all angles and physics. You need to get at the proper position. So it's very important that you move to the exact spot where that punt was made, and then get your hand up in the air. You got plenty of time to do it. So just move to that spot, but it is important in order to get that in the right location. Okay, next one is our punt mechanics when we're kicking from the -40 or inside. So when they have less than 60 yards to go on that punt, so if we're snapping the ball from the -40 or 45, 50, or inside the 50 there, we need to change our mechanics. All right, first of all, we have a rugby punter here. Remember, as soon as they get outside of that tackle box, they lose their protection. And the general rule kind of is when they get 2 yards, when they've taken two, if they've taken their third step, they're going to be outside that tackle box. So after that point, they're going to lose their protection as far as roughing. And remember, new rule from a couple years ago, anytime they get 5 yards away from where they originally positioned, they lose that protection. So if we go back here to understand that part of it, if they get inside that tackle box, it doesn't have to be 5 yards. But what I'm talking about here is, let's say that this ball gets snapped over his head. And if he goes straight back and he goes more than 5 yards, so he goes to 6 yards here and picks this ball up, if he just turns right around and punts it, he loses that protection. That was a new rule they put in a couple years ago. Outside the tackle box, if he just takes a couple steps, but if he gets 5 yards, anywhere 5 yards from his original position, that's usually one that goes over the head of the punter, and he goes straight back to get it, he loses his protection. So now as we go through, like I said, loses protection there for as far as roughing is concerned. That'd be a good announcement to make if they would make forcible contact with that returner. Referee get on the field mic and announce there's no foul for running into, there's no foul for roughing the kicker as he was outside the tackle box and he loses his protection. That'd be a good thing to announce so everyone would understand why we don't have a flag coming out, especially if that guy gets hit pretty good. All right, so when we're inside that -40, we need to anticipate that the goal line may be threatened. This ball is going to be caught. You can see, he's retreating, catching it between the 11 and the 10-yard line. And if this ball if he would pull back and not, make an attempt at catching this ball, if we're coming up, this ball could easily hit the turf and bounce so quickly that we are not going to be at the goal line. And we need to be at that goal line, because if we're not, and we have kicking team players who are anticipating this guy's, kind of trying to deke them, and he's not really going to catch this ball, so they're coming down to down it. If we're coming up and we aren't back here at the goal line, we can't see where that ball is illegally touched. And we know that if it's illegally touched above the end zone or in the end zone, that we have a hanging touchback. But if that ball be illegally touched, at the 1-yard line or whatever and batted back, that'd be our first illegal touching spot. And then, where that ball becomes dead. But we need to be back there. Deep wing. If the back judge comes off the goal line because he feels that return man is going to catch that ball, maybe, at the 15 or between the 15 and the 20, I want you to stay back on that goal line pylon longer. And you got plenty of time to come up and help out with the spot or whatever. But we need to make sure that if the back judge comes off the goal line, that we stay there until we see that ball's been secured and that goal line's not going to be threatened. This is an outstanding offensive hold takedown that we get, and this has to be by our short wing. If we think about it, our deep wings are up here in this blocking. Now, once this ball's possessed, our back judge is going to be up here with these blocks. So a block this far back needs to be seen by our short wing on this side coming down the field, and also our umpire is going to he has an excellent call on this as well. Both 2 flags on this one. So if we take a look, there's our takedown right there. Okay. And we know that we are going to call all takedowns that occur unless we have that takedown and the ball's becoming dead at that same time, which obviously it wasn't on this one. So let's talk about a couple things here. First of all, what we say, how we report this to the crew. And then on a play like this, we would want the calling official to report the foul to the crew, the referee to summarize back to the crew what he feels that we have and where we're going to enforce this from. And then probably that calling official just say, yep, that's right. And then the referee will roll into his announcement, and then we'll mark that penalty off. Considering here that the first thing that's going to come out of the mouth of our calling official, and since we have 2 flags, we're not going to give a preliminary. We need to think about the fact that this occurred during the return, and therefore we're going to pick that flag up and we need to move it back to that spot of the foul because that's where we're going to enforce that from. Okay. So we would need to get these 2 flags together back at where this foul occurred. And then the calling official, primary, probably the short wing on this one, just get together, have a conversation with your O2 open, saying, hey, I got a hold on that play. Let's say it was on number 10. I got a hold on that play, number 10 during the return. What'd you have? Yep, I had the same thing. Okay, so here's how you report that foul to the crew. Very important that you get on the O2O, and the first 3 words that come out of your mouth are one of 2 possibilities. In this case, it's during the return. That means we have a running play. That means our basic spot is the end of the run. So if our foul occurred behind that basic spot, which it did in this case, we're going to force it from the spot of the foul. That's why we need to move our flag to that spot of the foul. If this hold occurred during the kick, before that ball was possessed, then the first 3 the words that come out of your mouth as a reporting official are during the kick. And then you go on with the rest of it. So in this case, you would summarize to the crew during the return, holding return team number 10. I'm moving my flag to the spot of the foul. And that lets everybody know what we have. A referee then would summarize back to the crew and say, okay, so what I'm understanding is during the return, we have a hold on the return team number 10. We're going to enforce that penalty from the spot of the foul. And in this case, it's going to be a full 10 yards. Do you agree? Calling official, yes. And then the referee can roll into his announcement as we enforce the penalty. All right, so just a summary there of how we handle reporting fouls to the crew, summary by the referee, crew agreement, and then we roll into our announcement as we're making our enforcement of the penalty. What we got to do, make sure why we got to do this is because if we have a problem with the reporting to the referee or in that referee's summary to the crew, someone can get on and say, hold on, that foul was during the return and our block was behind it, so we need to enforce this from the spot of the foul if perhaps we misspoke and said we were going to go from the end of the run. So we can get that correction, because what we don't want is for the referee to make an announcement and then have to come back on the field mic and say, correction, penalty enforced from the spot of the foul, because we didn't get that corrected before we made the referee announcement. All that should be taken care of. We only want to get on the mic one time, and we want that announcement to be correct. I believe that is our last one, but this, I think, shows our different view here and shows a couple things I want to take a look at. First of all, like I said, this was a offensive hold that was called by our umpire, and you can see that's exactly what he should be looking at. He's got these second and third, line players who are coming downfield, and that's the only action he really has there. So really good pickup by our umpire, seeing that offensive hold right there on the return. The last thing is going to be, we do not need to be this close, deep wings. Trail that play 7 to 10 yards, just like our short wings are on runs down the sideline, because when we get too close, this is what happens. We almost get taken out, and we don't want to lose officials and during the game or during the season. So good review there of our free kick mechanics and what we want to do for our positioning and our mechanics and what we do on fouls on our different types of kick plays. So thank you for watching, and we'll have another training video coming out here shortly for our preseason work.